All right, looks like I lost you guys for a second there, setting up the phone on the tripod. Let's go ahead and get right back into it where we left off at. So first things first, actually with this nail that's exposed like this, I'm going to smack it back down into place because I don't know if you can see it from the camera, but it is actually coming back out. All right, so we're going to need to unseal the shingles that are on top to release the shingle that we want to come out. All that's unsealed. So now we just got to check for our nails. Looks like we've got one right here. One right there. And one right over here. All right. So now we have them out from the shingle we're trying to remove. Let's see if we can get it out. All right, we're able to luckily do that. And a couple things that I do want to point out before we go any further in this repair is the mat transfer that happened just during that, getting this shingle out, which is the sealant strip from the shingles that are up there in there, just transferred onto this, basically meaning that this shingle that's up here that was holding it down lost a lot of its ability to stick to the next shingle. And as well as that, we had a couple of pull-throughs where it had damaged the shingle just by pulling it out, just in the condition that these shingles are in. Here's another bit of that mat transfer that's going on there. But let's go ahead and do a little bit of comparison because we can at least still get that in. We're not going to be able to use this shingle actually to do the comparison because it has been cut to fit right there on the end of that. So for our measurements, what we're going to do is we're actually able to still get the height of the shingle, the exposure of the shingle. The only thing that we won't be able to get is the length. But what we can do to get that length is we're going to compare it with another shingle here on the roof. So it looks like this is the end of a shingle here. So let's go ahead and line up the shingle end to end. That's pretty lined up to me. And we're going to come down to this end, and we're going to note that the new shingle is actually a bit longer than the old shingle. So there we have the width of the two shingles next to each other, and we will be able to use this shingle to determine the height. So here we have let me use one of these other shingles to line it up just to show you guys that it is lined up properly. Those two shingles are lined up. We'll line it up here as well. And then the thing that we'll note is that the new shingle is actually about 1/4 of an inch longer than the old shingle. So just a couple differences here and there. The other thing that we can note is going to be the exposure of the shingles. So we're going to be able to notate that using these holes, or the slits. So if I line the two slits up of the shingles next to each other, one thing that we can notice is that the slits on the new shingle is actually longer than the slits on the old shingle because you can still see the top of the slit of the old shingle through this one. So anyways, there's a couple differences between the shingles. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in place of the old shingle, and we'll trim it to where it needs to be to fit on this rake. Set you guys back up here, okay? Good view. So what's going on here is, let me show you. So when we were pulling this old shingle out, I did notice that we had a tear off going on right here, which is caused by a nail, which means that there was a nail right there in this shingle. So if I use this as a template, it should be able to tell me exactly where that nail is. So this shingle was here. That nail is going to be right there underneath that shingle. And this one is unsealed, so we will have to unseal it to get that nail out in order to do this repair. So let's do that. All right, now we've got that one out, let's go ahead and try to slide this one back up there, see if anything else stops us from getting in there. Okay, so there still seems to be another nail. Still in the right place. This is the nail that we pulled out. Okay, and upon further review, this was the one that we pointed out. I didn't realize this one, but there's another one where that nail had pulled that one out. So we actually have another nail that is going to be right about there. Again, unsealed. Oh, sorry, it is sealed, so we're going to have to unseal this one to get that nail out. And there it is. All right. So now that we have that one out, and all of our nails out, we should be able to just slide this one. Yep, right where we should. Okay. All right. I've got it lined up to where it needs to be. We're gonna have to get a couple nails, new coil nails. All right. Okay, we're gonna put back the nails we took out of these shingles. All right. So now we've got those back. We're going to trim the shingle to fit the rake of this roof. All right, so now we've got the new shingle in properly. We're going to be pointing out a couple things here. So obviously we've got the fact that the coloration doesn't match. The other thing is during this repair, we actually ended up damaging some of the shingles. Again, I want to point out the fact that we had this much mat transfer going on, which means that this shingle here doesn't have as much tar on it as what it used to. Therefore, the roof is not in the same condition that it was before the loss. The other thing is too, is we tore a little bit of this, just trying to get under that shingle, even though we were being very careful. As well as we've just got a lot more granule loss going on from moving these shingles around like that. Once again, the new shingle is going to be a bit longer than the existing shingles, so it doesn't quite have a true fit as it did before. There we go.